Hello and welcome to the latest edition of On the Whistle after Sunderland drew 2-2 with Leeds United. Just me tonight, so I'll chat a little bit about what I thought of the game and then go through some of your questions. An incredible, obviously, end to the game. It looked as if Leeds United had got the win, 2-1 up. I thought they'd frustrated Sunderland really well in the last 20-25 minutes. I thought they'd showed their intelligence, their game management, the little bit of the dark arts in the way that there was, obviously a lot of time wasting, but at the same time, they bought fouls, they used the ball well. To be fair, I didn't see Sunderland getting an equaliser, and then it's an incredible error, really, Alan Brown's sort of effort. It's either a Shane Warne style ball of the century to spin it away from Meslier, or it's a terrible goalkeeping error. Maybe it's a little bit of both. I have to say my main takeaway from the game was who'd be a goalkeeper. I mean, Meslier makes an amazing save from Dennis Sirkin early on, and it drops to Chris Rigg to tap in from a yard, and then all everyone's going to talk about at the end of the game is that error. Definitely a slice of fortune for Sunderland there. I think they weren't going to score without an error. I think that's obvious. They barely tested Meslier in the last 20 minutes. But I have to say that I do think, did they deserve a point? I thought they played really well in a lot of spells in the game. I thought the start was really, really good. It was interesting listening to Régis Lebris there. Talks a lot about creating this culture of players owning up to mistakes, of learning from it and moving forward. And he put his hand up in the press conference and said that he felt he got the shape wrong. Sunderland were obviously playing pretty much with a back five almost, with the way that Dan Neil dropped in. And Lebris was, up front and said he didn't think that worked. He said he thought it invited pressure, it pushed Sunderland too deep, and he felt it was one of the main reasons Leeds were able to get back into the game and equalise. He then changed it to more of a kind of 4-4-2. I think you saw Rigg particularly really push forward. And after that, I thought Sunderland were really, really good. They could definitely have gone under. Leeds were brilliant in that 15-minute spell in the first half where they could have gone 2-3-1 up, but they didn't. I thought Sunderland's sort of first 20 minutes of the second half were really good, controlled the ball, pushed Leeds back, showed a bit of a different side of the game. Mostly this season we've seen them be a very sort of dangerous counter-attacking side, but this was as good as they've been in terms of controlling the game. Caught out with a sucker punch, really. A good move from Leeds, one that Sunderland should have defended better. But I thought they played really well up until those closing stages where I thought they did. I thought they were falling short. I thought they were running out of ideas. Interesting speaking to Lebris there. He said he thought the fatigue was a big factor. It's obviously Sunderland's third game in 6 days, and they've not actually used a lot of players this week. I think that's an interesting thing going forward. Lebris again only used 2 substitutions. So looked like they'd run out of ideas. But in the end, I think they pretty much deserved a point for their performance over 90 games. You can see over 90 minutes. You can see why Leeds United will feel aggrieved because they were seconds away from winning it, and they did well away from home with their own injuries. But yeah, I thought Sunderland just about deserved the point. There's loads of positives to take away. A really good start to the season. And a really good point in the end. I think Leeds showed all their quality. I thought Nonto on the right wing was brilliant, probably the best player on the pitch. I thought that they've had 2 serious centre midfield injuries this week. Look at the players they brought in. Tinako I thought was excellent, and then Joe Rothwell, a serial promotion winner, a Premier League player on his debut, and I think you can saw the quality he has. So I think it kind of shows what Sunderland have got to do this season to compete with these teams, how good they're going to have to be. But I think we can take loads of positives from the performance. I'm going to get straight into your questions. Ethan Todd says, is that the worst goalkeeping moment of the SOL since the Steel Camp Reuter era? Well, it definitely brings to mind the famous Millwall game, doesn't it? If you remember, just after Simon Grayson got sacked, when both goalkeepers made a number of poor errors, that was definitely the one that was sort of at the top of my mind. Yeah, incredible. I think a lot of us could be going to football for years and years and never see an error like that. And like I say, to be honest, I just feel for him, because that save from Sirkin, you say there, is that one of the worst goalkeeping moments of the SOL? That save from Sirkin before Rigg taps it in, it's definitely the best save I've seen this season at Stadium Light, and I can't think of a better one in the last year or so. I guess that's the life of a goalkeeper, and as Lebris said afterwards, if you're in goal or you're up front, your mistakes really do get magnified, and it's a cruel sport, I think. Really good question, this from Mike. Hello Mike, thanks for your question, Mike Smith. He says, what a night. Reg clearly not got much confidence in his bench except for Brown and his hope for Tommy Watson. He's hoping Samed pulls through quickly after the international break and Connolly builds himself up. Any under-21s games coming up? Yes, I think that's a really good point, Mike, and I sort of alluded to that before when I was talking about the fatigue, that I definitely think that was a factor today, and it's been a really interesting thing this week, isn't it? All the other managers have made a lot more substitutions and a lot earlier in games. Now, I think that's partially who Lebris is. I don't think he's going to be a manager who rings the changes throughout games and is making 4 subs early in the second half. But I definitely think there is a definite lack of squad depth at the moment. You can see that. It's not ideal. Your third game in 6 days. Continuity in your starting 11 is really good, but your third game in 6 days, you want to be making changes in the latter stages of the game. And it's clear at the moment that, the options aren't really there. Roofson, hasn't had a huge impact this season, bar Aushish. These aren't players that Lebris seems to particularly trust, and I think that's definitely an issue going forward. In terms of the positives, there are 2 under-21s games over the international break, one on Monday night and one I think the week after. I think the plan is for Connolly to play half in one of the games, then an hour in the next one. Sunderland have been really bullish about how fit they think Connolly is, how good shape he looks to be in training, and they think he's going to be ready to go after that international break. And that's clearly going to be a big boost. Eliza Mienda, I think, will be back as well. So all of a sudden you've got 2 players there that you can bring on in the final third. I do think Tommy Watson's looked really bright this week. I think obviously Paveda's injury is a setback, but I think Watson deserves minutes, and I think he'll get them. Samed is the frustrating one, Mike. I asked about Lebris about this at his pre-match press conference yesterday. He's not going to be fit to be able to play in those under-21s games. They seem to want to be really cautious because they fear a recurrence of his injury. So I don't think we're going to see him straight after the international break. Hopefully it won't be too long, but yeah, I think there'll definitely be 3 or 4 players coming back to bolster the squad after the international break, and I agree with you. I think Sunderland definitely need that. Dean says, given we've come out unscathed against some of the very best this division has to offer in Burnley, Leeds, Borough, who are fancied to do well, and we head into the second international break in the top 2, can Sunderland be considered challengers for promotion this year? Now, this also fits in with a question from Boxio Pats, who says, did this performance give you confidence this squad is good enough to at least make the playoffs? I'm more inclined to agree with that, Boxio, than Dean, your point. I think Sunderland have played really, really well. I don't think they've been as strong defensively in the last sort of block of games as they were at the start of the season. I think the teams have worked out a little bit how to create chances against them. And that makes me think that maybe it's a little bit early to start saying that Sunderland are genuine top 2 contenders. Also because of what I've just said with Mike there about the depth in the squad. I'm not sure it's 100% there yet to be a top 2 contender. But I don't have any other feelings other than positivity in terms of I think these are genuine playoff contenders. And with a good January, then and a bit of luck with the injuries, then who's to say they can't make the top 2? Maybe they can, fingers crossed. At the moment though, my view would be I think we're looking at a genuine playoff contender here with a bit of luck who could push for the top 2. But they have surpassed my expectations so far this season, and I think they've got absolutely every chance of competing. So, fingers crossed that continues. A couple of questions, a couple of people asking about Job, who they said was outstanding, had an excellent game. Really agree. I think it was a big test for Sunderland's 3 midfielders. I thought that the pressing that Leeds showed at times in the first half and the way they kept the ball, I think that was probably a level up from anything we've really seen from our opposition this season. I think a couple of people mentioned the Burnley game there. I think they were a side in transition at that point. I think Leeds were better than Burnley were. I thought all 3 of the midfielders ultimately came out of it with credit. I thought again Dan Neil was very good at the base of midfield. Rig, I thought, looked lively. I think with Bellingham, if one of those 3 shots goes in the first half, we're potentially talking about a man of the match performance, aren't we? Because he's probably going to be the match winner. If I had to pick my player of the night, I'd probably go with Dennis Erkin. Really tough test against Nonto, who I thought was brilliant. I thought he came out with that with credit, and going forward I thought he was excellent. Obviously unlucky not to get a goal, as we mentioned. So I think that's just about it. So thank you so much for all your questions. Like I say, Sunderland got a bit of luck. I think they just about deserved it, albeit I thought you could see that, maybe in some aspects Leeds are probably a little bit ahead of them in terms of their squad depth, which you would expect for a relegated Premier League side not so long ago. But I think we can all say it's been an outstanding start of the season for Sunderland. They're in a brilliant position in the international break, and hopefully with a few bodies back they can kick on. We'll be back with some podcasts over the international break. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for supporting the videos this season.